It's about that time, everyone's favorite segment, where the hopium is strong and it goes on and on and on and on. It is time for our Sacramento Kings trade candidate of the day. This is someone that we took as a request from the text line. Probably we're going to get to him anyway, but a lot of people wanted to talk about him, whether or not the juice is worth the squeeze. And we're going to do that right now. Without further ado, up to bat is Zion Williamson. And whether or not Zion Williamson is worth the risk. Zion Williamson, we know what he can do when he is on the court, but that is essentially the issue, how often and not often he is or isn't on the court. And that has been the issue for Zion. Obviously, he's incredibly talented. We've seen it firsthand. And, you know, the funny thing is, even from the Kings' point of view, you'll have him one game and out the next, right? The Kings had that back-to-back against the Pelicans this season, played in one game, didn't play in the other, was coming back from some type of injury. Zion signed a 5-year. He is 2 years into a 5-year, $197 million contract with the Pelicans. How his stats break down. He played in 30 games this season. 30 games. 24.6 points in those games. 0.1 less than his career average. 7.2 rebounds per game, which is a little bit more than his average. 5.3 assists per game, which is one more than his average. 56.7% from the field. We know he's crazy with that left hand and the ability to get to the rack. 23% from three, which is terrible. Okay, I mean, there's no way to kind of dress that up. 65% from free throw land. And again, what sticks out is the 30 games played, which isn't very good. Obviously, he was highly touted coming out of Duke and coming out of South Carolina. I still remember his highlight tape in high school to this day. First overall pick in the 2019 draft. We talked about the number 2 pick in that draft, Ja Morant, and now it is time to talk about who went number 1, Zion Williamson. Yesterday, I'm on record saying that I would take the chance on Zion. You sit there and you look at the stats and you stare at that 30 games this season. It's tough, man. It's tough. So this season he got paid 36.7. Next season at age 25, he'll get 39.4. After that, at 26, he will make 42.1. And at 27, he'll make 44.8. And in 2028, 2029, he will be 28 years old. Kyle, I'm going to throw to you with the packages that the Kings, you have 2 packages that the Kings could cook up, and you're trying to convince me and the good people of Sacramento whether or not they should make this deal. Let's hear what you got to say.
All right, so there are 2 different paths for the Kings to try and trade for Zion Williamson. Number 1 is the same kind of deal we've been talking about before, which is DeMar DeRozan, Keegan Murray, throw in some future draft picks. Maybe they have to give up the Timberwolves pick that they got in the De'Aaron Fox trade, which I would say at this point is their most valuable. Just for record, for people who don't know, the Kings can trade 4 of their own first-round picks in 2026, 2028, 2030, and 2032. They can do pick swaps in the odd years. They have the Spurs first-round pick in 2027 and the Timberwolves first-round pick in 2031. That's the valuable one because it's unprotected, so you have the chance maybe that the Timberwolves end up in the lottery. Maybe you get a top 5 pick out of that one. Maybe you have to part with that to get Zion, but that's the first package, is DeRozan, Keegan Murray, and picks. We're going to talk about other teams' packages too. Theirs are going to look pretty similar to that one. The second option is just flip Zion for Sabonis straight up. I would be opposed to that one because I feel like you're just taking on a bigger risk with maybe a higher ceiling, but I don't know how much that raises the ceiling if you make no other roster changes.
Yeah.
But that is obviously on the table. Zion for Sabonis, you make that swap straight up, say, we'll give you a proven commodity. Maybe it's closer to the offense you want to run. We'll take your project and see if we can turn it into something. And if not, we'll just tear it down. Those are the two options there. I would say I don't know what the Pelicans want to do. So therefore, it's tough to say which package would be more appealing to them, because if they were to trade Zion, does that mean they want to compete right now? Does that mean they want to tear it down? Does that mean they've landed Cooper Flagg or Dylan Harper in the draft and they're trying to retool? I honestly don't know. That's, I think, more on the Pelicans than it is on the Kings.
Yeah, my issue with the first trade package is I think we're just staring at another roster that doesn't make a ton of sense, just in a different way. So you lose DeMar DeRozan, who is a elite scorer, and you lose Keegan Murray, who can stretch the floor. So now you keep Domas, but now your lineup is Zach LaVine, Domas, Zion,
Keon
Ellis, and I guess they would find somebody else somewhere.
A point guard and Malik Monk off the bench.
Right. And to me, I don't know that Zion and Domas can't play together because, you know, of the floor spacing, but I do think that is a question mark. And depending on how many future draft picks you're also giving up, now you're done with Keegan. The DeMar DeRozan part of it, no disrespect, that's everybody's fine with that.
And maybe he gets rerouted somewhere else.
But as far as Keegan and the draft picks are concerned, for what you're getting back, and now you have question marks for that starting lineup. It's not that I want to move on for Domantas Sabonis, but is it worth trying out the experiment of Zion and Domas playing together? That's what I'm struggling with.
I would say trade package 2 makes more sense because, again, people are going with the trendy route of playing 2 centers or 2 bigs at the same time. I don't think it makes sense because Zion and Sabonis' game are so dramatically different. Mm-hmm. I think the key phrase is right now. It doesn't make sense right now to do the Zion for Sabonis swap. If we get to next summer and it's like, hey, Sabonis has 2 years left on his deal. We've just missed the playoffs a third year in a row. It doesn't seem like he wants to re-sign. Maybe that's the time to make the swap. But I think right now it doesn't make a ton of sense to do the Zion for Sabonis swap when you've just brought back Doug Christie, you've just brought back Zach LaVine, you talk about wanting to add point guard and length. This would be a complete 180-degree pivot organizationally. And quite frankly, I don't think you should move on from Domantas Sabonis unless Domantas Sabonis tells you he doesn't want to play here anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, we just went through this with De'Aaron Fox, and you didn't get. I mean, I guess the argument is, hey, well, you lost De'Aaron Fox, and you definitely didn't get a better player in Zach LaVine. If you lose Domantas Sabonis for Zion Williamson, technically you got a better player. The issue is, how much is that better player going to play?
Well, I think you got a player with higher upside, potentially. I think that's the bigger thing, too. And he
is younger. I mean, it's crazy that Zion is still just 24.
Yeah, exactly. You're resetting the clock if you make that call.
I don't know how that type of play. He's already had a ton of injuries and he's 24, so knees don't get better, right? And the way he plays, I don't know how that will translate. So is he really 20? Is he actually 24? Is he honestly more like 26 or 27 based on his mileage and how he plays?
I don't know. Joel Embiid was a good case that with the right treatment and game management, you can limit the injuries. You can't put him off forever, but you can certainly limit the injuries. Embiid had 3 or 4 healthy seasons in a row after major knee and ankle surgeries,
and then crashed out again.
Yeah, and then his foot broke, and then it was like, okay, and we're done. But again, if you get 3 to 4 Joel Embiid level seasons out of Zion Williamson, I think most people would say that's a successful trade.
Yeah, I would agree, and especially because of what we know those seasons to be. And when Zion is rolling in that, that all-star season, he was averaging, or he has 2 all-stars, and those 27 points per game. Okay. And he's at 7 rebounds, 4.6 assists in 2022, 2023. So he can do a lot. Obviously, the 3-point land, and he shot 36% that all-star season from 3.
Yeah. I mean, Zion was a starter in the All-Star game when he played.
Taking less than 1 3 a game.
Sure. But he was a starter in the All-Star game when he played more than 60 games. And I know he's only done that twice, but he's just that good. And again, I don't think the timing makes sense right now unless you do the aforementioned DeRozan, Keegan draft picks package.
Mm-hmm.
But, and we can maybe talk about this on the other side, they wouldn't have the best offer on the table. They would just have to hope that some of these other teams are not interested in Zion. Because I picked out 5 teams that have a better trade package than what the Kings can offer.
Yeah, and Zion has been connected to New York for a really long time now. Giannis is being connected. You can't play Giannis and Zion together. I mean, that would be, I guess you could if it was Zion, Giannis, a point guard, and then 2 elite shooters. You could.
And Cam Johnson.
Yeah, and I guess that's the same argument for Sabonis and Zion. The problem is in that deal, you're losing one of your elite shooters in Keegan Murray. So you got to find somebody. You have one point guard, Zion, Sabonis, and 2 elite shooters. That can work. It can work for sure.
It just would be unique, shall we say.
It would.
Because then you'd have Zion playing the 4, which was his natural position, but I think we've all learned he played with Valanciunas, but Valanciunas is not Sabonis. Those are 2 very different playing styles.
And again, you're paying these guys $40 million, and I don't think you would be getting the problem is with Domantas Sabonis' contract is for him to make his production worth the $40 million, you're probably not the best version of the team that you should be. So then you are having him take a back seat, and then you're still paying him the same amount of money, but he's not as involved as he had been. So his production isn't matching what you're paying him. That's ultimately the Sabonis question. We close the loop on Zion Williamson and the other teams that are interested on the other side. And there's somebody in LA that might be available. I don't even know if it's a need, but would you want this guy in Sacramento? Alan Stiles, Sactown Sports.
Bonneville International Radio